Hello, hopefully you can hear me alright and the stream gets shared and everything. Don't forget to like it as you come on because obviously liking the stream seems to get YouTube to share them better. So not great news obviously as you expect with COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it. We had, I think it was 12 or 13 new cases in the UK today, and that's on top of having a big burst of them again like the previous day. And again, we're getting more and more people who hadn't been in contact with other people, as far as they know, that had even been on holiday to like China or Italy or anything like that. So yeah, that just shows obviously what you expected to happen was going to happen, or at least if you've been following it. Frustratingly, you're still getting people that are just saying, "Oh, it's just the it's just the flu." I don't see why everybody's worried. What I'm going to do is do an explanation really quiet. YouTube says I'm not, but I can look into what the PC might be doing. Might be Windows 10 being shit. Hang on. Hopefully there's something I can do. Problem is with this is Windows 10 has that shitty I have to go into control panel, won't I? Because they don't just let you do it simply like you used to do in the old Windows 7 and XP and everything interfaces. Recording, microphone, blue snowball, properties, levels. That's set to 100%. It's as loud as it always is. I don't know what the problem is. There's nothing I can do about it. It's not set any lower than it should be. So yeah, the only thing I can assume is no, it is the microphone recording. I've not changed any settings, so it was. Yeah, I've not changed anything. So anyway, yeah, what was I saying? That yeah, it's the thing everybody could see coming. That as much as we're being told, oh, it's just the flu, but obviously it's not, is it? Because higher R0, higher severity rate. Thank you, Kane. Wow. Let's assume that you're being serious, and I'll explain it. The R0 is far, far higher, we know for a fact, than the flu or a cold or whatever. R0 of probably 4+, could be potentially as high as 6 or 7. So on average, everybody spreads it to at least 4 other people. And the other issue is that 1 in 5 people who get it need severe hospital care, as in being put on a ventilator or something like that. If you have something that's that infectious, where 1 in 5 people needs hospital care, you are going to get, in most countries, probably 1 or 2% of your population wiped out by it. Or even higher than that, potentially, when, you end up having all your hospitals overwhelmed. Yeah, that's one of the new merch shirts. It probably shows up below. So it's just a photo of one of my Radiacs with a little bulb on inside it. But I like the low scale on the Radiac because, as you can see, it goes to free Rontgen. It goes just off that scale. So I thought that would be pretty good for a merch shirt, but nothing to do with coronavirus. Yeah, it's selling out everywhere, apparently, on masks. I'm going to do an update video. I wanted to do that gas masks answer video, but I'll probably do that Tuesday now. But tomorrow I'll probably just do like a brief summary of a lot of the corona stuff and, a lot of the weird stuff I've heard in the media that isn't true, and answering questions, like stuff like, it's just the flu, and then explain why it's not just the flu. Like masks don't protect you, and then explain again the difference between surgical masks and actual respirators. Alexander, thank you very much. He said, is it okay to wash BEM 4GP's voice valve? Will it be okay? It will be absolutely fine. I mean, I wouldn't disassemble it, and I wouldn't put under really high pressure water, but it's just either a plastic or metal flat bit in the little grilled bit, isn't it? So that would be fine just to wash off. So far, I don't think there's enough evidence if you can or can't catch it again. There's certainly evidence that people who had been discharged from hospital with it were then coming back in being ill with it, but that could be more of a case of they weren't left, under care for long enough to get rid of all of the symptoms. That is quite a worrying thing, but I don't think until we've seen that documented enough times in countries that will give reliable data, we can trust that. Yeah, hello, little vamp. But yeah, there was was it 12 or 13 new cases today? But worryingly, we've had 3 cases in the UK now in 3 different areas in the UK, where those people have not had contact with anybody they know that's been on holiday to China or Italy or anything like that. They've not been away, so it means they've caught it off of a random person who's had it, and they don't know who that is. Well, as saying Vector, we don't know yet at this stage. The first infection can certainly kill people. The main issue we have in the UK, of course, is there's not enough hospital beds. Supposedly, we've only got enough for like 50 to 500 people. And if you consider there's 66, 67 million people in the UK, it will spread very quickly. And then if 1 in 5 people needs hospital treatment on top of everybody that needs hospital treatment anyway, that's not a good sign. Thank you very much, Forever. 18 infected in Norway, 4 of which are doctors in our biggest hospital. That's very worrying, because the thing is, if doctors are infected, that means they could have given it to more patients. So yeah, I mean, that's the problem you're seeing in a lot of places, is where potentially healthcare workers have got it from a patient. They don't know, and then they've given it to somebody else. Because one of the worrying ones as well in the UK was when they were doing just random tests, which is a good idea actually. A doctor tested positive, and the doctor that tested positive, didn't even realize they had it. They weren't even showing symptoms yet, but they were just swabbed. Mike asked me, could I check what company makes the Teespring thing? There you go. It's Gildan or something, Mike. I think that was the name you said before, but it's Gildan. I don't know if it was the same on the hoodie, but it's definitely Gildan on the shirt. And it must have been printed in the UK or Europe, because it came, I think I ordered it Tuesday evening, or it might have even been Wednesday, this shirt, and it came yesterday. So it came in 3 days after ordering it. So for it to have been printed in the time I've ordered and posted, it must be UK, I'd imagine. Yeah, the thing is, what I was saying to some people at work today, because this is a bit of a weird thing, is I got asked at work, could I do a presentation about it, because we were given a load of documents to read on it. I would show it, but it's kind of like doxing myself, because it has all the company name and all that on it I work for. But it's that kind of stuff where it was all about, your entitlement to sick pay and all that if you think you have COVID-19, and what to do if a relative gets it, what to do if you have these symptoms, it was all that sort of thing, what to do in the store if there's certain problems. But my manager said to me, could I, do a little briefing on it, because I knew more than her about it. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I was explaining a bit about what the disease actually was, other than just here's a list of symptoms, which is basically what you get given at a company level. But one of the things I was suggesting to co-workers today is, if you have, you're like me and you require inhalers or some sort of medication or whatever for illnesses or chronic illnesses, diseases, make sure you start stocking up, because it would not surprise me at all if in a couple of weeks' time, if you need inhalers or whatever else, you're going to be pretty screwed. So I will include that on the video I want to do tomorrow's early update video, just about making sure you are getting food supplies in and medicine supplies in, because I think a lot of people forget about the medical side of it, even if they think about buying food and water. If that's a Myron one, I've never owned the CM6M. Yeah, I believe that more, Bart, that apparently a lot of the test kits aren't very good, as in they have 70 to 80%, rate where they'll show negative even if you're positive. So it wouldn't surprise me, if somebody's recovering, but, not recovered, they do a couple of swabs on them, they both show up negative, they say, right, you're cleared, and then that person's still ill, feeling, really bad or whatever, they come back in, and then, they swab them again and they test positive. At the moment, F16, I don't want to, I know you're not talking to me in that comment, but I don't want to say, take this tablet, take that tablet. Everything has to be trialed and tested properly, because if you know anything about what happened with the attempts at SARS vaccines, the vaccines, if they never went to human testing phase, but they found with animal testing, basically, it would kill you if you had the vaccine. So, you have to be careful with stuff like that, that certain medicines or whatever, they need to be investigated properly. There's also a very sort of shady thing at the moment where a lot of companies are claiming they've got a medicine that will, help with coronavirus or whatever, to try and get lots of people to buy stock in their company, even if there's like absolutely zero evidence it will do that. That's not a late joke, Brandon. That joke's been around since I did the first video on it back in January. Not saying I did the first video, people obviously covered it before me, but I mean my first video on coronavirus, that was in the comments back then. Right, Richard. Right, Peach, if I didn't say hello. Yeah. Dr. John Campbell, I know a lot of people saying, oh, he's a nurse, not a doctor, but same thing in my opinion, they're medically trained. Was saying in his thing where Mike's linking multivitamins that, was it vitamin D he was saying is a very important one, because he says if you live in a lot of northern sort of places, as in, UK, Scandinavian type places, in Europe and stuff like that, probably Northern American states and Canada, you don't really get enough sunlight. So for that reason, we don't get enough vitamin D for that reason. So multivitamins are helpful for that. Yeah, he was saying that though, William, you have to be very careful of that, because if you're a smoker, the best thing is to quit, not trying to, get a slight improvement with a vitamin and still die anyway. But yeah, he did a stream today and we listened to it while we were at work, because it was actually, he did one that was for Australians at like 10 a.m. UK time, but that was perfect, so we could listen at work while working. To be honest, I've seen GP5s all over the, place price-wise anyway. Austin again said, what's your opinion on the cases in the US? How fast do you think it will spread out east? I don't think it's necessarily going to be like, it's going to go like that across the map. I think you're probably just going to end up now and again getting cases in a city where they're diagnosed too late, and then it will spread massively from that city, and then it will spread out from the cities based on just common transport links. So it's California at the moment, isn't it? With like, is it either San Francisco or LA? They're getting the cases. But yeah, I think that's going to be more just, where, I don't know if you heard this, but with one of the cases, the CDC really dropped the ball on it, because I think the hospital had a patient in that they were worried about potentially having coronavirus. The CDC said you don't need a test kit because they won't have it. Like their condition kept getting worse and worse, and eventually the CDC tested them. And then it turned out they did have coronavirus, but in the meantime, they'd not taken all the precautions they should have taken. So, that gives you some idea, doesn't it, of Well, as I've been saying, Tanya, all of the things are going to be slightly delayed. And thank you, JM. All the cases are going to be slightly delayed just because of the fact it's got a long incubation period. So what you're going to find is all the time people won't present to be tested until they start getting the symptoms and they feel ill, which for most people probably averages a week or two, because it can be anywhere from like 2 or 3 days after you meet the infected person, all the way up until like 27 days now, they reckon. For most people, it's like an average of probably a week. But the point is that, if you're always going to be delayed on the actual reported cases, because it's a combination of both the people who have, people don't know they've got it, then like a week or so later, they might start feeling ill. Then they go to the doctor, then they might have a test done. That test has to be sent off and checked. So yeah, you're always delayed with the results. I don't think there's anywhere that can literally go and swab you and then go 5 minutes later, right, you have it or you don't. Isn't there a load of people isolated in New York at the moment? Now, apparently, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't have cold-like symptoms. It's much more like flu-like symptoms. I'm not saying it's the flu, because that's not a very good comparison to make at all, as much as a lot of people keep doing it. But most of the early onset symptoms are more similar to the flu. Like aches, sort of feverishness, just feeling very tired, like headaches, coughing. But if you've got a runny nose and sneezing, apparently that's not symptoms from coronavirus, supposedly. It wouldn't surprise me if you still could have those symptoms with it, but Oh, it's more infectious than the flu, and it's deadlier than the flu. So it's nothing like the flu, is it? Yeah, I think it was New York City, not upstate New York. I don't know about sore throat, if that's been mentioned or not. But yeah, for anybody who didn't know, for anybody in the UK, what you're meant to do is phone 111, and then they're meant to advise you on where you can get tested without infecting other people, basically to be risky. Thank you very much, Bam. Was arguing with a guy that said it won't affect your lungs if you're between 18 and 40. Well, 1 in 5 people with it supposedly on the statistics develop, like massively horrible complications, and that can include viral pneumonia. So certainly does affect your lungs, but I'm sure it was the other person, wasn't it, arguing the other way around? Right, White Wolf. That would probably mean you're more likely to die. Apparently you can catch them both at the same time. I don't know if there's been many studied cases of that yet, but yeah, if you got the flu and this, you're obviously already weakened from the flu. Then if this hits you, you're more at risk. It's the same reason a lot of the comorbidities where people are dying from it are people who have underlying health issues, so it exacerbates things that are already wrong with you and already a problem. Yeah. Don't forget to like the stream, as the guy just said, because 476 people on 114 likes. Yeah, Big Boy Clowen, or Clown, however your name's meant to be, with the JC Denton picture. If you got a GP5 and the GP5 was in good condition, you got a modern P3 filter, even if it's not one that's meant to fit it, and you duct tape the shit out of it so it was a good tight fitting, that would work. It wouldn't be a brilliant solution, but if it's all you can do, it's all you can do. I've heard of it. I don't know if there's any good peer-reviewed stuff on it at the moment about it causing like testicular damage and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff at the moment I don't want to speculate on because there's not enough info. But in all honesty, personally, thank you, Big J. And thank you, Oxide. I'll read these and I'll go back to what I was saying. Big J says, a big thank you from Canada. I have 4 4A1 masks for my family, 4 Type 80 filters, and 4 3M NIOSH P3 filters. Some panic buying here now in Canada. Right, stay safe. I'm glad to have helped. But yeah, I think panic buying is going to start in any place once the cases start going up. I think the panic buying will start. Oxide said, what's your opinion on the Czech CM4 mask? Weirdly, there's one behind me. I don't know if you could see it. That's why you're suggesting it. CM4s are very good. At least they're still turning up on eBay in decent numbers for decent prices. So yeah, CM4s I would recommend. There's reviews on my channel about them, like the pros and cons as far as I'm aware, but they're not bad masks at all. The CM3s are actually pretty good as well. The only thing I'm not sure of this is a lot of people say they're 40mm NATO. I'd have assumed they were GOST, but it seems a few different types of 40mm NATO filters do screw in all right. So if it is GOST, it's one that weirdly accepts some NATO filters. Right, so what was I speaking about before I lost my train of thought because I was answering the super chats? Was it about sort of speculating things? But what I was going to say is, personally, I think there may be some evidence, and of course people can doubt this who are a lot more qualified in it than me, but personally I believe it may have been a bioweapon that got leaked. Like, not that they intentionally leaked it, but, all different superpowers around the world develop bioweapons, part of their NBC warfare programs. So, it's very probable, isn't it, that something went wrong in one of the labs, or a lab trying to make a vaccine and something went wrong. And then it got out that way. It's just, there's too many things to me that, if you did Occam's razor, of the simplest solution is probably the most obvious solution. If you said, there's this virus that just happens by random mutation to have come about that has all of these, things where it can survive, like 9 days on the surface and, incubate in somebody for weeks, and you can spread it in that period but not show symptoms. And then it can hit people really hard, and it's got bits of the HIV virus and all of this in it, or whatever. That seems very, very unlikely to me, just compared to it was made in a lab and it got out by accident. Expired Israeli Type 80 filters, as long as they're in good condition, Kyler, and they've not been dropped and dented, thank you very much, they'll be absolutely fine. The particulate bit at the front is still good. I apologise. I think I'm just coughing a little bit because I'm reading a lot of comments out, and I've been at work all day. I don't think it's corona, because I feel absolutely fine other than that. It's definitely a question of when, not will, Joseph, at this point. The government said on emergency measures, school closures and like changing how schools and lots of public things running are certainly on the list of things. So it's going to depend on how many cases we get. I think the faster the cases start accelerating, the quicker they'll start closing schools, public places, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's impossible to say at the moment, exactly when they'll do it, because I don't think they know either. But if you've been following the news, basically, I think they're suddenly taking it seriously because they realise that, the containment stage isn't going to last much longer over here. Right, for people wanting to know how to tell if a filter's leaking or not, get a white piece of paper, shake the filter upside down on the bit of paper. If you see charcoal go on the paper or something like that, it's leaking. If you then wear the filter and are breathing through it, and you seem to feel something like tickling your throat or whatever, although it could be talc in the mask, that's also probably like a little bit of charcoal or whatever leaking out and being inhaled. Thank you very much, Ridiculous. He said, my state finally started testing. I am hoping they let us work from home soon. Keep up the good work, bro. Any thoughts on 40 to Bayo converters? I don't have any. As in the ones like for the 3M ones that let you put like 40mm filters on a 3M mask, or is it the other way around, like 3M filters on a 40mm mask? The only issue if it's putting 40mm filters on a 3M mask is if you blanked one side and only had one filter coming through, the air would probably be quite restricted because 3M masks have quite small little holes for letting the air through. At the weekends, William, I just basically do a kitchen porter cleaning job. So a big thing they were on about us in a technical documentation from work. When I was saying about the coronavirus stuff was all about, even more sanitization of surfaces. The good thing, at least, is when you work with food type things, you have to do lots of sanitation anyway, so everybody's trained on using sanitation chemicals, wiping surfaces down properly and all that. But so I think actually in restaurants you'd probably have less problems, assuming everybody follows protocol properly. You have probably less problems with infection there because everybody really has to be drilled in, at keeping the places clean to do with bacteria and viruses. But I imagine there's a lot of other places where, staff, like in a supermarket, they obviously don't deep clean shelves every day, do they, at the end of each shift and stuff like that? As I've already said several times, if you get a GP5, you put a new filter on it, so the filter definitely works. And your GP5 is in good working condition. Yes, it will work, but, I do something better. Oh, thank you very much, Roman. He said, can the Mestral 40mm NATO ABEC 2? Yes, is the answer to that. The P3 bit is the important bit, and because you've got ABEC level 2 protection as well, that helps as well to some extent. So yes, but obviously you need to make sure it's all decontaminated properly when you take it off and whatever. Because if you have the best stuff in the world, even if it was like full hazmat stuff with an air supply or whatever, or a rebreather, you got in your house and then you contaminated a surface and then touched your face or whatever, it was all for nothing. So, yeah, the point is that, as I said earlier, I found some NATO filters work, some don't on it. All GOS filters do work on it. Thank you, Amp. You said just got a Miro Dot Pro 40 USD, seems a bit pricey. Let me look what that one up is. Look which that. Let me have a look what that mask is. Or is that a filter? Yeah, Myra stuff is fairly overpriced. I've never owned any Myra masks, so I can't say if the masks are good or not. I know a lot of people don't like Myra who collect gas masks. But I know one of the things with Myra is they are definitely overpriced. Muna says, how long do FP5 filters last when breathing through? Right. There's lots of things to consider when you consider how long filters last. With FP5s, obviously, is it in date or not in date? Is it for chemicals or particulates? If it's just for particulates, it's going to last pretty much forever, because unless you're constantly breathing in a very dusty and smoky environment, the filter's not going to clog. If it's against chemicals, it will depend on what chemicals it's exposed to and what concentrations. So then it could be anywhere between like 10 minutes or like hours on the filter. So yeah. Hopefully that's answered your question, but it's one of those how long is a piece of string, questions. There isn't an actual answer, really. Yeah, I think with that, Rich, you definitely need the particulate bit, wouldn't you, rather than the actual vapor one? Because the problem with 3M filters is obviously, which is another point, is if you've got a 3M kind of filter, when you have a 3M mask and it's got the dual filters, when you breathe, you're getting like 50% of the air you're breathing going through each filter. Whereas if you have a single 3M filter on a 40mm mask, like bodged on, you're going to get 100% of the air going through that one filter, meaning it might move through too quickly and it might not filter efficiently. Because, I don't know if people know this, but when you have filters for air stuff, even if it's just particulate filters, the faster the air is flowing through the filter, the higher failure rate. Yeah, as we've said, Reese Marine, it's the problem that you're going to see everywhere, or Reese Marine, that literally everything is going to keep inflating in price. And this is why people really need, if they haven't done it, to get stuff soon if they are going to bother. Because the issue is that, there's stuff that's going up like £5-10 every week at the moment, or just simply selling out. And you still get people go, oh, I'll leave it a bit longer, and then they'll all of a sudden say, I can't afford that, or, it just can't get to me in time. Right, Roman, it seems to be a bit random, but some FP5s certainly work on GP5s. Let me prove that. So let's get this one down. That's a GP5M. And I've got two FP6s here, and I have a feeling at least one of these FP6s didn't work on the GP5M. I should have a FP5 somewhere in here that definitely works on it. Is that an FP5 or an FP6? This one is an FP6. Right. Right, what have I got here? FP5. Right. Okay, so let's do a test. I'm not going to obviously do a vapor test because I've done videos on the stream, but not videos on the stream, sorry. I've done videos on the channel with FP5 filters. So here's one FP5 and a GP5M. Let's see if this one screws in. A little bit of resistance, but seems to have screwed in fine. Again, you'd need to do a vapor test to actually check if that's working. Right. Here's another FP5. That one's screwing in actually a bit better, and that seems to have screwed in absolutely fine. Now let's try the FP6. I have a feeling this one's not going to work because it had a bit more resistance. That's a bit more resistance, but it may have actually worked. Tell you what, let me just give it a quick pressure check. I know that's not the ideal. Actually, I've got the banana oil here, so I can check it. Never mind. I will do all the things then. So, no, it seems to be pressure checking. Right, I can smell that. So this FP6 hasn't made an airtight seal with this GP5M, but I know a lot of FP5 filters, the regular ones, do. So let's just try one of those. I've done it in videos before and it definitely works, but it seems more like it's a quality control issue, maybe. Like where most work, but then again, you will get one that just doesn't. Because I know Laser Point Productions bought an FP5 filter and he found on every single one of his Ghost masks, it wouldn't work. Even though I tried several FP5s and they'd worked on my Ghost masks. So it's probably something like that. I can't smell the banana oil on this one, so this one has connected fine. So again, I think it's a weird thing of, like you might just get lucky or unlucky with some of these filters. It also seems to come down to how good condition the O-ring is in there. Because if you've got a really worn down O-ring, filters aren't going to seal well with it regardless, because of like how the tips the filters connect. Stop asking the same question. The answer is no. Oh shit! Nearly dropped that, and then nearly dropped my glasses. But yeah, if somebody's asking the same question throughout the stream and it's clear I don't want to do something, I don't want to answer it, don't keep spamming the same question. Anyway, let me check I've not missed any super chats. Apologies. Annoyingly, I don't think there's any way of just sorting purely by super chats anymore on YouTube streams. It seems the last thing was Roman asking about the FP5, so that's good. I've not missed anybody asking for a super chat. But yeah, the point was, going back with FP5 filters, because I can at least explain it, is it seems to be a quality control issue kind of thing on them, where all of the FP5s, as far as I'm aware, are the 1/7, whatever they call it, thread pitch. But it seems, again, with looking, I don't know if there's anything obvious about these sort of threads on these that make them different. I don't know if it just meant that some ended up being a bit fatter from the factory done. But yeah. If Anonymous Anglo, if you mean, is it too late to stop coronavirus? I would say yes. I'd say it's a containment procedure now and damage mitigation. You have to try and stop it doing the most damage possible. Realize it's going to have economic consequences and people are going to die, and just put as much money and funding into trying to find a vaccine or a cure or whatever as possible. Literally, it's not just with respirators, Russell, it's literally with everything now. Food, even in some supermarkets and stuff like that, certain medicine supplies, stuff like that. But again, this is the thing we'd warn people about. And if people didn't pay attention, probably going back a month ago to when I said it and lots of other YouTubers said it, and people saying, make sure you get this stuff before everybody starts panicking and getting it. Too little too late, really, isn't it? I don't know when I ever employed that Soccer 21, but that's an Israeli Type 80 filter. If you got the standard Israeli M15 filter, and that would work fine for Corona. Medical care is much better than when the Spanish flu was around, but there's more people on the planet now. This has a higher R0 than the Spanish flu, it would appear. And when medical systems break down just due to being overwhelmed, it won't matter how good they are if there's no doctors to see you anyway. No, a GP5 will not work with a 60mm filter. What country is that in, Florida? I know in Iran the numbers are massively higher, but there could be several reasons for that. But regardless, I think it will be worse than Spanish flu in terms of numbers killed. Because I think everybody has just been too slow dealing with it. And that's not me trying to sound like really pessimistic. I just think you ought to be realistic looking at this, and take sensible preparations. Right, Soccer 21 baseball, if it's out of date, will it protect you from chemicals? Probably not. If it's out of date, will it protect you from particulates? Yes. While we don't have a real number on how many people are dead, because Iran is not giving out a real number and China is not giving out real numbers, but if we want to just have a general look, there's a link to a map in the description. 2,990 people have officially died, which is 3.4% of cases. 87,000 people confirmed, 48.8% of people have recovered. But the important thing to note, even with the recovered one, is some of the cases marked as recovered, people were still coming back with symptoms and infecting other people. And with the recovered cases, it's not like it's 96.6% or whatever yet. There's still a lot of people who could, who at the moment could be in critical condition or very severe condition. It's not like you get it and then you instantly either recover or die. There's a lot of people who are in a bad condition for a while and then die, or eventually recover. But yeah, the Iran has a 5.5% death rate, and that's probably even going on their propaganda numbers. Again, until you get more cases in more places, you're not going to get an accurate number. Oh, thank you for the super chats. Let me just read those because I missed them. Italy really exploding with cases 566 just recent day. By the way, I got a Discord account now, Nordic Resilience. Right, let me add you on Discord. Thank you. But yeah, Italy is not good. I think if we look at where Italy was a week and about 2 or 3 days ago, or last weekend, I think this is where we're going to see the UK being in about that same time again. Because now in the UK, we're getting cases where we don't know where people have got it from. I think give it a week or 2 weeks in the UK, then we're going to be at, 500 to 1,000 cases or whatever. And thank you, Bamf. He said, you use banana oil to test filters. Will vanilla extract work just as good, or is it not? It might work. I don't know. It depends partly on the size of the particulates, like the vapor microns, whatever you want to call it. Because the issue is when you're testing how good a filter seals to the mask is basically, like with the GOST thread, it's like I'm trying to think of a good way of explaining it. If the particles are too big, you might have a filter bodged on that you think is working because the particles still can't get through. So you need the particles to be as small as possible. But I imagine vanilla extract would work all right. So thank you for your donation. Thank you again, Russell. I bet he's not laughing anymore, is he? Thank you. Citoine13 will have your names pronounced. How long you personally prep for? It's really going to depend on different factors. It's going to depend on rationing and things like that. Food-wise, I'd say a couple of months. My medicine-wise, it will depend if I need to start cutting down on the amount I take per day, or and stuff like that. There's a lot of factors where you can't really consider it, in my opinion. I'm sure if you lived in a completely self-sustaining place, like some of these doomsday prepper type people, you might be able to say, I've got exactly this many days worth of food but it really would depend on, what happens on the exact day you realize shit goes down. But even in places where they're locked down in Italy, you could still put a respirator on and go to your store when they stock them every now and then. It's not like everywhere's completely, deserted and you're welded into your house like in China. Thank you again, Roman. He said, copy the tile and it will bring you to the post I'm referring to on the myth of FP5 filter, and it shouldn't be known to fix or getting filters to Gossamer. Well, all I'm going to say is I know there was a lot of shit over it before, but I am personally going to say I 100% believe FP5 filters work on a lot of gas masks. So people can argue whichever way they want, but like I said, I've presented my thing. Thank you again for the donation. But I don't like gas mask Reddit at all. I've made that very clear. The gas mask official Discord's all right, but the gas mask Reddit is one where I've just found I just don't bother going on it. I'm not saying that to insult anybody particularly on it. It's just I found the quality, but that's just the thing of Reddits in general, is very much a lowest common denominator type website. But yeah, the thing is, as I've said before, in my personal opinion, FP5s will work absolutely fine on most GOST masks. But again, you will get FP5 filters that don't seem to, because it's a normalized thread. It's kind of a jack of all trades. And that applies to other nations, I believe, as well, that have tried normalized threads on mask filters. So anyway, that's just my opinion on it. Anyway. Yeah, didn't they have somebody in London with a case now as well? Now it's in, now it's in the capital. No, I know airboss masks are meant to be very good. I've never used any airboss masks. Right, that's your opinion, HL. There's no problem with liking to collect old masks, but the problem is I'm kind of more interested in things like the practicality of them. I mean, I love the history behind a lot of old things, but again, it's like with the Geiger counters, right? I've got the therapy in the other room, but like you've got loads of the old ionization chamber Geiger counters, things like that. And it's like if somebody said to me, would you rather have one of those US old CDV type Geiger counters or ion chambers for measuring radiation, or would you like something like the therapy or like a very good modern electronic one that has a bigger operational range? The batteries last longer in it. it weighs about 100 grams rather than like 5 kilos, it's pretty obvious. And I think that's the same thing with old gas masks, you know. It's that sort of thing of, will this protect you? Because it's nice as a collector's piece. And like, again, I love collecting all this old stuff like this, but if I was choosing something for my personal protection, I would not choose something old and retro. Only if you've got proper filters or airflow set up for it, Leighton, because firefighters' masks require air tanks and all that sort of stuff. Probably today, Tim, because of the fact that we've had like 12 or 13 new cases today, and several of those, they don't even know how the people caught it, which is quite worrying. Thank you very much, Raf. Oh, why, Raf? I ordered a few Sperian Furnace masks for family, but they don't have filters. Could you recommend a suitable 40mm filter for them? Also, can I join your Discord? What is your server URL? Post your Discord ID, and then I can invite you to my friends list and invite you to the server. I'm not going to post the server URL in here because you'll get everybody join that hasn't donated. Right, so for filters, the P3/P100 type filters that I've recommended quite a few times are good. If I can find the Scott ones in this room somewhere, if I've got any visible. Right, sadly I don't think I've got any visible at the moment, but basically the Scott P3, P100 filters, any of the Scott A2 ones. The nice thing about the Furnace is it's 40mm NATO threaded, so you don't have to worry about filter compatibility like it's a GOST thing. So any 40mm P3, P100 filter you can get would be fine. Ant is spamming the word HEPA, high efficiency particulate air. P3 filters are the same thing as HEPA filters. Yeah, it was £18 when I bought it to review it. So yeah, anybody that bought it after I reviewed it, I think it had already gone up, hadn't it? And now it's gone up again. Anyway, I need to check if what's his name's posted his Discord ID so I can add him. YRF. Let me Control F and I can then keep checking the chat for if he makes a new comment. Oh, there we go. Train set. Right, let me add you. You'll know it's from me. I guarantee it. Well, I don't, but right, as soon as you get the friends request, accept that and I can invite you to the server. When you say infection via consumption, do you mean eating foods? You can't get it from eating foods as far as I'm aware. Although, cooking will destroy stuff on the foods, but apparently, if you went to a restaurant, they cooked the food and it was all fine, and then somebody coughed on it. I wanted to say coughed then, but I suppose most people won't understand that. If somebody coughed on your food, then it's probably not gonna. You could get infected that way, but I don't think they're sure about that. But I suppose, yeah, because you're going to be putting the food in your mouth, aren't you? And it's going to probably get into your respiratory tract from being close proximity to it. But yeah. Yeah, I've got one on order, Daniel, and I'll review it when it arrives. I get filters from all over the place, and thank you again, Russell. Yeah, exactly, especially if that's on filters. What I tend to try and do with filters is buy them more from, sellers that list them with the expiry dates. Thank you, Philip. You are a legend. The book I Am Legend is a good book if you've read that or seen any of the films. The Will Smith one's a bit shit, but going back to filter expiry dates, right? You can buy, the best thing of filters is not to try and search NBC CBRN filter, because if it's a basically like a military surplus filter, it's probably out of date unless it's been stolen. That's generally how surplus works. So what you want to do is search RD40 filter, or like the classification of the filter, like P3 or A2 filter, whatever you want to get, then what you want to do then is look on places like Amazon or hardware stores, because they're basically always selling new stock. Right, the symptoms so far as we're aware, is basically coughing, fever, so, like feeling achy. So initial symptoms seem to be a lot like the flu, where you just feel achy and shit and maybe have a cough. But then for the people where it gets bad, you basically get the really, really bad fever and pneumonia. It seems the fever for some people is bad enough their brain fries in their body, and you see them like spasming because they're having one of those seizures where their brain's got so hot it's cooking itself. Could be around forever. Did somebody say something? They were saying, on the news, it might be one of those diseases like a seasonal cold or a seasonal flu, where every year it comes along and wipes out however many people. We don't know at this stage. It's a new thing. We don't know. Will a cure be found? Who knows? Yeah, if you're a taxi driver, Ant, I would recommend a very good quality half-face respirator you can wear goggles with. It depends if you need to wear glasses or whatever with it, but yeah, if you're driving a taxi, I would definitely recommend a mask. Oh yeah, you've donated before, Khalil, haven't you? So let me add you on the server. This doesn't like your name. Can you check if the capitalizations are correct and all things like that? It depends, I think. When we're on about eyesight, it depends how bad your eyesight is. If you're somebody who literally can't function without glasses, then no. If you're like me, then yeah, that would be quite straightforward. But also, like I said, wear a half-face respirator if you need to. Wear your glasses and then wear goggles over the glasses. Simple. I haven't seen if there's been a big development in Norway. Let me look that up. Norway, let's see. "15 cases in Norway I can see on here. Let me search Norway corona. See if there's any So 15 people test positive 22 hours ago. Was there no cases before then? I don't actually know of Norway. I can see on this map, actually, if I go to Norway. So yeah, with Norway, what the first person was the 31st of January. Then the second infected case was on the 26th. Then all of a sudden it jumped up to 7 people a day later. And then it's jumped up again today. So yeah, it seems that with Norway, it's been jumping up, quite rapidly recently. If you mean Czechoslovakian ones from the Cold War, I'm not a massive fan of the M10, but I like the CM3 and CM4. Oh, I saw there's a donation I've missed. Sorry, let me see that one. Also, into the Discord link, my ideas. Right, thank you. I will add you. But yeah, when somebody else has donated, let me sort that out for them in a second as well. I also need Terminal Britain, or however he's got his name, to get back to me with how his name is done exactly, because otherwise I can't add you. Let me try again with that Terminal Britain. But what was the other comment I'm missing? Because I saw there's a 10-year. There we go. Learn a lot from your channel. Keep it up. My Discord is. Let me just add you then. Ivars, if I'm saying your name right. I don't know if I am. Oh, Terminal Britain's ones work good. Let me add you. Right, as soon as those people start adding me as well on Discord, or I've sent them friend requests, I'll invite them to the server. Invite to server. Invite to server. Somebody said, "Is this who I think it is?" The answer to that would be yes. Okay, there is Corey. BNO Newsroom's pretty good. I'm going to link that because I've not got that in the description. This is one of the most up-to-date sites, but it's not. They haven't got like a really good graphic on here. Let me. There we go. So there's BNO Newsroom. That's good. The one I like is this one, COVID-19 Info Live. It's in the description. And that's cool, White Wolf. But yeah, there's pictures now of people on the London Underground and London buses wearing like half-face respirators and that. So I think it's got to the stage now where if I went somewhere and I was even considering thinking, should I wear a mask, I'm just going to do it at this stage. Discord's for people that have donated. Well, I've already specified that several times. They're not getting in for free because it's unfair for the people who have donated. That might work, Tanya. What I would say would be better is if you have a check M10, putting some sort of thick layers of cotton inside or something similar, or layers of cloth. But yeah, if you can't get a proper mask and you've got an M10, by all means, fill the cheek filter pouches up with some sort of cloth, because that's at least going to do something. Thank you, Dwarven Miner. Long-term maintenance. I've done videos on this, but what you want to do, store masks in a cupboard or something out of sunlight. Out of sunlight is a really big thing because lots of masks discolor and crack due to UV exposure over long periods. So a bit of sunlight now and then is not going to hurt it. If it's left, out where the sun comes through a window and hits it every day, that will damage it. So leave it in a cupboard. You obviously don't want massive temperature fluctuations because if it expands and contracts a lot, that can damage parts of the mask. Not really in a damp environment and not in a too dry environment. Again, you want it to be like sort of comfortable humidity for people kind of thing. Because if it's too damp, some bits could get soggy or damaged if it's damp over time, or rust if there's metal parts. If it's too dry, bits could crack on the rubber or whatever. And the other thing as well is if you want to keep a mask, preserve silicone lubricant and stuff like that's good for this. I don't think, Ivan, there's going to be an apocalypse, but I do think, there could be a lot less people in a year's time on the Earth than there was, at the start of January this year or whatever. Well, I'd say those people are being pretty sensible, Philip, because as much as the doctors keep going, there's no proof a mask will help you, there's certainly proof of it that masks protect the respiratory system from sort of stuff getting into it. Yep. I've already answered this several times, but Israeli Type 80 filters or M80 filters, whatever you want to call them, yes, will protect you against coronavirus because they've got a P3, P100 front section that's designed to work against like radioactive fallout and biological warfare agents. So yes, and tear gas and stuff like that. So yes, they will work. It would depend if there's somebody coughing outside your bedroom window, I guess, on that question. Thank you, Michael Simpson. But yeah, in regards to people saying about houses, as much as it may be airborne at this stage, I wouldn't worry too much of it being like some sort of radioactive fallout style thing. If it lands outside your house, it's going to get you. The PMG, if it's in good condition, Heisenberg will work if you've got a new filter. But in terms of, it's not with stuff like that and houses and that, I wouldn't be very worried if you're in your house and somebody sneezes like down the road somewhere, and your windows are closed, it getting in like that. I think that's a very, very slim thing. I don't think it's some sort of super deadly infectious disease in that regard, because there's still people in like places like Wuhan that are trapped in their apartments who haven't caught it, even if their neighbors have got it. But what I would say is, you do need to think a lot if people near you are getting it. You don't want to be opening your windows a lot. You want to be careful about door handles and things like that. Who's Nurse Anna then, Nordic Resilience? The most discreet things you can get are the probably pollution masks, or whatever they call them, like the ones cyclists sometimes wear, because they're designed for, like cyclists to not inhale loads of car fumes. All right, Jones got some info on Norway for me. He said, if you allow me to correct you on the Norway things, first actual in-country confirmed case was in Tromsø, if I'm pronouncing that right. And it was someone travelling. So far, there's been 2 to 3 people infected inside the country. So that's similar to the UK figures then, where we've had, I think in the UK, like 2, 3 or 4 people that have been infected inside the UK so far, without them knowing how it's happened. But we've had lots of people that have come back from places and been tested, and then they found, they've caught it outside, but the tests have been done. They've got Mike. Okay, well, that's cool, Nordic. I think it'd be better for the doctors using military masks because they're of better quality than. I mean, I know they have to decontaminate them rather than just bin them every time, but yeah. I'd certainly say, in the UK, if they were to have an S10 or a GSR or an FM12 or whatever on a doctor, I think they'd have a less chance of catching it wearing those with a good filter than if they just had a little papery surgical mask on or a little dust mask. This is the interesting bit. He said there was a major slip up with an eye doctor that got infected and may potentially have exposed hundreds of people in Oslo. So basically, in the capital, that's pretty serious, isn't it? Then, if in Oslo, the capital of Norway, the doctor got. I think that's the big danger we were saying earlier in the stream, though, is if doctors get it, that's potentially where it's going to get really bad. Because if they don't know till a lot later on that they've got it, how many people has that doctor seen face to face in the meantime and most likely spread it to? They're going to be super spreaders by far. I don't have any 3D printing stuff, Osram, but I've got one of those 3D printed GOS to NATO things on order. But I've got no way of 3D printing stuff myself. Apparently, Sam, it's because of evaporation. If you have 100% alcohol, apparently you can evaporate too fast before it actually cleans stuff properly. Whereas, as much as I'm sure 100% alcohol would kill viruses and bacteria quite well, I think the problem is it just evaporates too fast. I know with some like really high percentage rubbing alcohols, if you leave them in a bottle with a lid open, they just literally evaporate within a day. So it's probably that kind of thing, that you want 70% because it's probably the sweet spot of being strong but not evaporating too quickly. John also says it seems as a response there's being implemented new rules in regards to people travelling to and from high-risk areas, but I'm not sure about the specifics, 14-day quarantine, etc. Well, thank you for all the information, John. I do like it when people correct me on that sort of stuff because, again, it's hard if you're just trying to find news sites saying about what's happened in certain places. Thank you, Anne, as well, for the $1 donation. Yeah, and Australia was quite low, wasn't it? Again, like a lot of countries, we're seeing this thing that happened with Italy again and again play itself out, where Italy had a few cases, then all of a sudden, boom, the cases, which is, I think, what's going to happen in the UK in a day or two. Jared says, does anybody know if these would work fine? 3M, you don't need to put the trademarks on. Multi-gas vapor filter cartridge. The P100 one will be absolutely fine. I'd say all I'm going to say is if it's 3M, like actual proper 3M and not Chinese knockoff 3M, and it's rated as P3 or P100, or it's a multi-gas one with a particulate bit added to it as well, that should be fine. But again, remember, the important thing is decontamination and cleaning. Because if you don't decontaminate or clean the stuff properly, even if you've worn it and then you take it off, it's not going to be useful, is it? Right, let me add you in. Or Nick, let me add you. In all honesty, Corey, I think everywhere's going to have to start doing that. Once you start noticing cases popping up and up and up in certain places, you're just going to have to decon and lock down places because of how contagious this thing is. And I think that's what people don't understand who keep comparing it to the flu. It's like the flu is contagious enough, but when you've got something that's got an R naught of possibly higher than 4, where every one person spreads it to 4 people, and it seems that, it's potentially airborne and things like that, it means, somebody just going on a public transport bus is probably just going to spread it all over that bus, So yeah, I think even in the UK today, when the guy was asked, like the health minister or something, about NBC suit in summer. Yes, Datvik, if you're wearing an NBC suit in the summer, there is a very dangerous risk of heat stroke, especially if you're in a hot country. But yeah, regarding even in the UK, we had a health minister or somebody today when they said to him, could the UK actually lock down cities like Wuhan or the places in Italy? He literally said, that he's not going to rule it out. At the moment, they're not ruling anything out when it comes to mass quarantine type things. They're hoping they don't have to do it, they said, but, they're not going to rule out mass quarantine. Rorps, if I'm pronouncing your name right, said, got nothing to say, but he gave me a donation, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. Right, rigging makeshift filter cartridges. I'd say old pillowcases or sheets folded over themselves several times, because then it's a thick load of cotton. That's the only real thing I can think of. I don't think cotton wool would work very well if you compress loads of cotton wool. It might, but I'd say folding like sheets or towels or something into a load of layers and then having that as a makeshift filter might work. Then maybe potentially soaking it in antiseptic, assuming you're not going to get high or dead off the fumes, like sniffing petrol or something. Right, in terms of when people are asking me, can you get reinfected? I don't know. I've read up on cases of it, but I don't know if there's any evidence of that yet, or if it's just, where people had, a few false negative tests done on them because the test kits aren't all that reliable, were discharged, had another illness, came back in, they tested them, and then still, when the test kits came back positive, could be that, I don't think everything will fall apart. Like I said, I think there'll be massive economic impacts from this. I think a lot of people will die, sadly. But I don't think everything's going to fall apart. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think it's serious, and I think people need to take it seriously rather than going, "Oh, it's just the flu. What are you worrying about?" Ooh. It might be, John, but the thing I like about alcohol evaporating is that it's not going to get everything wet. So let's say you spray a load of stuff down with alcohol spray, you can just leave it hanging up and it evaporates off on its own and it's all fine and dry. Whereas the problem is with a lot of bleach sprays, I imagine you'd have to get paper towels and then dry that up with the paper towels afterwards, and then bin the paper towels and make sure you don't contaminate your hands binning, stuff on the paper towels. That's why I like, that's what I like about rubbing alcohol. As much as I can be Jupiter, but the problem is, as I'm chronically with ulcerative colitis, asthma, and that, as much as I've stocked up on a lot of this stuff, if you don't know how long it's potentially going to last, only takes is one person missed. Discord, let me add you. If you mean it only takes one missed person to get through the system and cause massive problems, it does. And thank you very much. And thank you, Hoodies. I'll add you as well because you've donated. But yeah, with anything like this, it says LOTM is not accepting friends requests. They'll have to add you or become friends. You need to change that so I can add you, and then I'll add you. You need to make your friends thing public. Yeah, that's the thing I love about it, Sam, is that, you can get it cheap online. A lot of people aren't, because they were saying about this on LBC earlier, where they were coming up with different things you could use. If, they were saying, if sanitizer gel is too expensive, like all these different things you could buy that worked relatively well and all this sort of stuff. And I thought it's amazing people aren't just recommending rubbing alcohol. The who are Chinese shills, Ivan. I wouldn't trust them. I think they love Xi Jinping a bit too much. That would be my answer. That's not a politically correct answer, but it's the one I honestly believe, that they are shilling for China. They're more concerned about money than they are about people's lives, which isn't something you want in the World Health Organization. Well, for the people say it's just the flu, yeah, the Spanish flu was just a pretty bad flu, wasn't it? H1N1. But yeah, I've answered the Spanish flu one. In all honesty, I can't answer it, can I? Because I wouldn't know. But it could be as bad as the Spanish flu. It could be worse than the Spanish flu. Might not be as bad. Who knows? Right. The thing is with this is what I was saying about all the filter stuff before, is although the virus microns are smaller than the P3 filters or P100 filters, they don't travel on their own. They travel on other things like water droplets or whatever else. Even when it's an aerosol, it's not freely flying about. It still has to come out on a bit of spittle or whatever. And that's why filters work. Again, if it might potentially become so small airborne that it can get through filters. But until that happens, you're still much better, having masks and filters. Because they're still recommending P3, P100 filters for doctors and everything like that. If they're good enough for doctors working with people, they're certainly going to be good enough for you walking down the street or using public transport. Thank you again, Ropers. Yeah, at least 1 month for most things. And don't forget toilet paper, because I know a lot of people have been buying toilet paper, but don't forget toilet paper, because I think you're going to be in a world of hurt if you've got the shits and you can't wipe your ass. You certainly don't want to be wiping your ass with newspaper or something really uncomfortable that's going to cut your asshole up. Nice soft toilet paper is probably going to be something you really need. Yeah, what's your Discord ID, Ropers? Yeah, let me add you. Also, one thing they were pointing out as well on the radio with doctors that's very important to note about masks. The more you're potentially going to risk inhaling stuff, the more you're at risk. So let's say you walk past somebody and you're wearing a mask and they cough. If you're wearing the mask and even if a little tiny thing gets through the mask, there's less of an infection risk and less of a serious infection risk, supposedly, than if you walk past somebody, they cough, and you inhale all of it. And apparently this is the thing with doctors. This is why a lot of doctors are dying, is they think because they're being exposed so much, because they're being around people with it, that's the problem. So, it's limiting exposure. Even if you can't 100% limit it, 99% limiting exposure is still, better. It's a bit like with radiation type stuff, I guess, in that regard. There's a sort of a safe level of radiation, even if you go off the theory of no radiation amount is safe. But, it's like if you knew that you were going to encounter it, minimizing exposure is the best thing possible. It's worse than the flu fun with guns, unless you're answering somebody else who's jokingly saying or being an idiot and saying it's just a flu. But if there's a flu pandemic, they would quarantine for the flu. Like when there's been certain types of swine flu before and that, they do quarantine for that. Yep, they've been going up like £5 to £10, Alan, week on week. Because when I bought one to do a review for the people asking if the JSP was good, that's behind me. When people are asking me were these good, and I bought one to review whenever it was I bought it at the end of January or whatever, or very early February, this was £18. Now they're like, well, some people saying like 35, 45, 55. I know it depends which filters they come bundled with, because this is the cheaper filters rather than the combination gas and particulate filters. And I feel fine, Floda, to answer that. In terms of mortality rate, Orson, from people that catch it, it's a 1% mortality rate. Thank you, Lair Boy. I will add you now because you've donated. Remember, for the people asking about Discord invites, it's for donators. I'm saying a massive apologies if somebody's donated on the stream, not giving me the ID on that stream, and then later on ask for it and I miss it. Hasn't Indonesia or Thailand or somewhere been having lots of viral pneumonia cases, even though they're not claiming they've had any COVID cases? So we know they've got it, even if they're lying about it, basically. The thing is, what we know with like a lot of countries is there's some countries that don't have the capacity to test for it, and we know that they've got it. They're just pretending they've not, basically. Yeah, so even if we're going off a low as a 1% mortality rate, it might even be higher than that. But the point is that, it's definitely not under 1%, is it? Let me look up on it. I haven't seen that one, Andrew, but let me look up on it and I'll tell you what I think just from looking. Stealth P3 respirator. Oh, that one, I've seen that one. Again, like you said, it might be hard to decontaminate because it looks like the filter sits in a kind of shell thing where you can easily remove the filters. But in terms of that, it still doesn't look bad. If you can get that and you can't get other masks, I certainly recommend going for it. But again, if the price is inflating of that everywhere, I just saw on Screwfix it says not available for order to your area or whatever. Thank you, no name. Let me add you. But yeah, I'd recommend it in the sense of if it's P3 rated, it looks a decent enough design. If I see one, available and I'm not stopping somebody else getting one, I'll get one to review and let you know what I think of it. But, I think with most masks, you're going to run into some sort of decon issues with them for half-face masks. Oh, I see. So, Fun Guns, you were stating it was worse than the flu. So, you point out is that there isn't hysteria to quarantine for flu, but they are for coronavirus. Yeah, the thing is, who knows? The thing is, it is annoying me on the radio where we listen to LBC a lot at work just because it's fun to listen to, especially when you get irate callers. And they had a virologist on, literally explaining why it was worse than the flu, and then you immediately have people calling in going, yeah, but it's not as bad as the flu, is it? Even though this guy was explaining it's more infectious and more deadly than the flu. And then somebody going, yeah, but the flu's worse, isn't it? Because that's killed more people, even though this is a brand new thing, Thank you very much, Kevin. He said, can someone try hitting the go to latest button at the bottom of this video and tell me if they get redirected to another video, the button next to the pause one? I don't know if I can do that, but can somebody else try that? Or as in go to latest of mine? I'm a bit confused by that, but I'm sure somebody like Mike can test it. What do you do on Discord? Discord's just a kind of like game. I think it's designed for gaming, wasn't it? But it's just you have Discord servers where people can chat and stuff like that on it. So on the Discord, my Discord, it's just where people can chat about coronavirus or gas masks or surplus or whatever, and I occasionally go on and chat with people about shit. I would also like to know if Mike is streaming later, because that would change what I'm doing this evening if he's streaming the non-simulator games of David Cage. Thank you to Sparrow. He says, report on Kingdom FM 1 hour ago of case in Tayside area, Scotland, currently being treated in isolation. So is that another case then? So let's see if B&O's got that on there. Hang on. Let's go to the B&O timeline. 2050. I'll just read out some of the recent cases while I've been streaming. So just in the period of when I've been streaming. So 2050. So I'm going to do it, in hours, hour and 50. This is in GMT, so same time zone as I'm in. 2050, 8 new cases in Spain. 2032, 50 new cases in Japan. 2025, 1 new case in Mexico. That was a patient that returned from Italy. 1939, 1 new case in Finland. That was before I was streaming. They've not got the one on Scotland yet, but that doesn't mean it's not there. It's just not on this particular tracker. But you're not on tonight, Mike. All right, thanks for letting me know. But that's fine. I'll see if Bart wants to play a game or something. If not, I'll watch a film. I'm quite tired anyway, because busy day at work this weekend, as usual. Yeah. So for tomorrow's video, for the people that don't know, because I'll probably go off fairly soon. Although I want to do that gas mask Q&A, like the answers video for it, I'll probably do that Tuesday now, because what I want to do for tomorrow's video is just do kind of a summing up of a lot of the coronavirus stuff that's happened so far, and what my recommendations would be, the updated recommendations based on all the stuff coming in. So for people who don't want to watch loads of videos, they can just watch that one and get a load of information kind of squeezed into one video. No, I should have sent you a friend's request, no name. If yours was Avaldon, are you on? Was yours Avaldon? Because if I'm doing that, I just literally invite you through that, like I've done with everybody else. Was yours Avaldon, or were you somebody else? If not, send me a message through Discord, where I've added you as a friend's request. I wouldn't do that on a stream, disinfecting a respirator. I've done it on a video on it. That's cool, no name. Yeah, it's sometimes just because obviously when I'm doing the streams, I'll send somebody a request with their name, and then I'll go back to the stream, and then obviously have to invite. But yeah, what's not worst case scenario, Jason? The worst case scenario the UK has said, or reasonable worst case scenario, is 500,000 dead in my country anyway, which is about not quite 1% of the population. Lots of countries are thinking that there'll be roughly, like just under 1 to 2% of the population killed in the worst case scenario. Yeah, it's certainly not worst case yet, but the problem is keep alert. The thing is, you need to prepare for potentially worst case, because the problem is there's been lots of people kicking the can down the road going, it won't get bad, it won't get bad, it won't get bad, and it keeps getting worse than what they're saying. So, a bit like my shirt, which is available as merch below. I'll just shill it now, because it's a photo. We took ourselves of one of my Radiacs in the background, setting it to going over free Rontgen. So it's an authentically done one. It's not one of those weird drawn ones where they don't know how, a dosimeter or a radiation meter works. This is literally one pegging out at free Rontgen. The max is at free Rontgen on the lowest scale. So yeah, just chill that. But yeah, you have to be prepared, I think, for stuff like this, because don't trust the people who keep kicking the can down the road going, oh, it's only this bad. Okay, it's only this bad. I've done a video on that, Roman B, but I'd say rubbing alcohol is the best thing. So when you get the mask, before you take it off, spray it down with rubbing alcohol, rub the rubbing alcohol down on it, or have a disinfectant wipe. Then once you've taken all your gear off, spray it probably again with rubbing alcohol, let it evaporate, then clean yourself down thoroughly. Yeah, you might see something like that with this. For the person who was timed out, who said ever played Postal 2, I have played Postal 2. They were on about using foundries and things like that for like incinerating corpses on mass or dumping them at sea. I think they were also saying, weren't they, just digging a mass grave in Hyde Park and just shoveling them in there? Thank you, Tad. You said, Nupia, should I keep the filter in an isolated location if using it again? Should I clean the filter as well as the mask? Well, personally, what I would do is it depends on the filter, because if you've got, say, for example, one of those fabric-y filters, it's pretty hard to disinfect it without damaging the filter. If you've got a plastic encased filter, like one of these, you could certainly spray down this outside with disinfectant. So, but what I'd suggest doing is just basically keeping the filter, if you've got spares, keeping one filter just kind of on rotation, so you can then just come back to that filter after 9 days or whatever they reckon it can survive on surface. If it's exposed to UV, it'll be less. Good sight pictures in looking through scopes, Sagman. S10 is pretty damn good for looking down scopes. So is the Soviet Shums, because the Shums was for snipers. Let me add you, Veek Fine Art. Hang on. If I scroll up, and thank you again to everybody that's donated. I really appreciate it, because it goes towards all the shit I buy and review and then say if it's good or not, so you don't have to waste your money on it. It doesn't like your ID, Veek Fine Art. Is there capitals in different places on it? Let me try capitalizing every first word and see if that makes a difference. Come back to me in a second if you figured out why the spelling of name's wrong. Let me try all lowercase. Oh, it was all lowercase, that's why. Anyway, I might have missed this when I was going off on a tangent about it earlier. But I think part of the problem is in lots of South America and Africa at the moment, if people are asking why aren't there cases there probably are cases there. It's just there's no test kits or the health infrastructure isn't there. So just because there's not a case doesn't mean it's not there, you know. It's not like, you know, you didn't see graphite on the ground kind of thing. Well, I think it's exactly like that with, you know, how certain people have been handling this. If that protects him, I'm going to show your comment this to me. The thing is, if people are desperate and they're doing stuff like that, if, you know, they're making a basic particulate mask. All right, I'll add you as well, Wolfgang, thank you. Which is the important thing that, you know, if you're in desperation, you can't get proper things. There's probably some stuff that's better than nothing. And again, if you cut out a diaper or a nappy, whatever you want to call it, and used it as respirator, obviously not a used nappy. You don't want a baby shit-filled nappy on your face. But oh yeah, is it Kenya and Nigeria that have got suspected cases now, but they've not got any proven ones? Let's look at the map again. I know Algeria had a case. All right. Oh, Nigeria has a confirmed case now. Algeria's got a confirmed case. Egypt's got a confirmed case. Chad hasn't got any confirmed cases. I do find it funny though that if you look at Chad on the map, it does look like the Chad face. I don't know if Bristol does or not. I need a map that shows you more localized. No cases showing up on BNO in Bristol yet, but that doesn't mean there aren't people there. It just means there's no confirmed ones. If you're interested in the UK on the BNO one, the one in Newcastle, the one in Liverpool, the one in Nottingham, the one in Carterton, which is very close to Bryce Norton, so that's quite close to me. The one in London or Surrey, wherever it was recently. I think on this one they've actually just got the marker put on London, but it was actually Surrey, isn't it? Which is just south of London. Yeah, Surrey, which is south of London, but and one in Brighton. So and there's one in Northern Ireland as well, isn't there? Is there one in Republic now as well? What's a Telegram channel? I've not heard of Telegram. Is that like a site other than YouTube? Let me look into this. I'll be going off in a minute because I've been on quite a while. I think Telegram, by the look of it, is a bit like how we use the Discord. Right, David, I'll answer your question before I go off. The only thing I've seen panic buying here, because I know there's panic buying in other places, is respirators are obviously selling out everywhere, but that's been the case for a week or two. They've always been on back order and the price is going up. The only thing I can say close to panic buying, like you're seeing in some places, is in petrol stations, you know, like gas stations. When I went there on Thursday after I finished doing charity volunteering at Blue Cross, drove back. Normally when I finish midday there, it's very quiet because most people are at work. So you get a few people filling up company vehicles, that's it. I had to wait to fill up because there were just every pump was in use. And this is, you know, like an 8 or 10 sort of, you know, pump petrol station where they're always normally in working order. They generally don't have broken down pumps there. So if you have to queue up for at least 10 pumps, it gives you some idea of people thinking, maybe, oh shit, maybe I need fuel. Again, it could have just been an anomaly, but, you know, it makes you think, doesn't it, at the moment? Anyway. Yeah, I'll just read out some updated figures before I go off. Oh, Fun with Guns did donate, Mike says, so he's given me his ID to add. Let me just add you, Fun with Guns. Apologies if I didn't add you earlier, but we do get a lot of people who haven't donated. Right, Fun with Guns, your ID, it doesn't like it, how you've posted it in the chat. So can you repost it and check capitalizations and all things like that? Because it might be that you've done a capitalization wrong. Anyway, what I was going to just say before I went off, hang on a second, was that I was just going to read out the cases as and what they look like here at the moment on this map. Mainland China, 79,826. South Korea, 3,526. Italy, 1,128. Iran, 978. Diamond Princess cruise ship 705, Japan 241, Germany 117, Singapore 102, France 100, Hong Kong 96, US 77, Spain 76, Kuwait 45, Thailand 42, Bahrain 41, Taiwan 40, UK 35, Malaysia 29, Australia 26, Switzerland 22, United Arab Emirates 21, Canada 20, Iraq 19, Vietnam 16, Sweden 16, Norway 15, Macau 10, Austria 9, Israel 7, Netherlands 7, Croatia 6, Oman 6, Pakistan 6, Russia 5, Lebanon 4, Greece 4, Mexico 4, Romania 3, Denmark 3, India 3, Philippines 3, Brazil 2, Iceland 1, San Marino 1, Qatar 1, Nigeria 1, New Zealand 1, Monaco 1, Luxembourg 1, Lithuania 1, Ireland 1, Nepal 1, Egypt, Belarus, Estonia, Algeria, North Macedonia, Belgium, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Georgia, Cambodia, Ecuador, North Ireland, and Azerbaijan are all 1. That's where we stand at the moment. That's quite a lot more than a week ago, isn't it? Is there anything on that guy's name who donated? Yeah, I think you're right there, Arnold. The Pope probably does have it because the Pope's been koofing, hasn't he? Remember, Discord's for donators, for the people who keep spamming IDs who haven't donated. Oh, but you have donated, haven't you, Kane? I know you have. Let me add you, and I just want to check the other guy who did donate on a previous stream if he's given his name again. Yeah, and then I'll quickly answer questions I've been sent on Discord off the stream, and then I need a rest. Fun with Guns, have you reposted your ID yet? Sorry, just because I want to get off the stream now. Oh, right, let me try again. Fun with Guns. I've seen your new comment. I need to take the space out there because it's not enough space there. Right, let me try it without capitals in case that's it. Or is it all one word? Or can you have spaces in Discord? I don't know. I actually don't know with Discord. Can you have spaces in a Discord name or does it have to be underscore? Let me take all the spaces out now. No. Now let me try it with the capitals without the spaces. No, it doesn't like that either. You're going to have to definitely work out what your name is, Fun with Guns, because you're not copy and pasting it correctly. Yeah, don't forget to upvote the stream before you go off. I can say that like a Twitch whore because, you know, I want my videos to be shared by YouTube. Yeah, I know you've donated, JM. Let me just add you. Hang on. The problem is, as I said with these streams, it's always best if you're going to ask for a Discord invite with an ID, please do it about the time you donate, just for my sake, because that way we don't have to trawl through old messages to check that people are being genuine when they said it. Because unfortunately, I do get a lot of people that will just randomly, you know, say, oh, I donated. It doesn't like your name, Paraparzel. You're going to have to get back to me again with that one. To work out why it doesn't like it. It might be capitalization and stuff like that. I've got a Twitter for the YouTube channel, but I don't check it, so I wouldn't bother trying to contact me on it, to be all honesty. Right, unfortunately, I think I've run out of time. So the people who have donated that still need to be added, you're going to have to get back to me on the next stream, I guess. Or on the next thing. Anyway. Right, thank you, everybody, and apologies if, again, there's people pending sort of Discord invites, but again, try and get your IDs to me correctly as soon as you donate, and then it's a lot easier. Right, anyway, thank you, everybody. It's been a good stream. I quite enjoyed it, even if it's not a very nice subject matter. Let me write, then, just try Fun with Guns and Terra Parzel as I go off, and if not, you have to get it to me on the next stream. Right, bye. Bye-bye.